What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So I've just about fully recovered from having my wisdom teeth extracted, and big shout outs to all of you guys for all of the warm and heartfelt messages you sent me while I was away. It really meant a lot and really just wanted me to get back into the thick of making videos. Now, I want to bring you guys something a little bit different today as I take this last day to fully recover, because it's not often that we have the opportunity to see something like this. It's very rare that we have a TCG player, especially a good and renowned TCG player, go to the OCG, not only get to play in their event, but get to play a deck which is probably going to be one of the strongest decks going into the 2018 Nationals season, but give a deck profile, but also give some insight on what it's like to actually play in the OCG, since the TCG and the OCG are vastly different, not only because of card pools and formats, but even just something as simple as etiquette being in vastly different regions. So BasedLoli allowed me to upload this video to my channel. You might have already seen it on Farfa's, but it was just such a cool video. It was something I really did not want to pass up. You want to give a big shout out to Ediception as well as Eddie Lee in China for helping him make the deck as well, and that's really all I wanted to bring to you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy. I should be back in full force starting tomorrow, and we'll see you next time.
What's up, fellas? It's Alex. I just got back from Japan, so I'm extremely jet lagged, but while I was there for about 10 days, fantastic trip, I played in an OCG tournament, the 36th whatever. It was a big tournament, not big, but I mean big, I guess, by Japanese single standards, in Akiba, Tokyo, and there were about 67 players, cut to top 8, and they only did coverage, I guess, on Yu-Gi organization of top 4, but I figured, you know, I made it to top cut, I might as well, especially as a TCG player, so I might as well give you guys a deck profile of what I played. I ended up losing to the eventual winner of that tournament, who was playing Troy Mare ABC. Very, very good deck. Those cards are really good. I played Sentouki. It's a new deck. The archetype is not here in America yet. So also this could give you some good insight into what or how you could play it in the future, especially for Nationals, because National season is coming up. I want to give a quick shout out to MetaMats, my sponsor, awesome people, and Glasgow, Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Farfa, and Lithium 2300. I don't know whose channel this is going on, but one of theirs probably. And you know, they're really good. They're awesome at getting up coverage. I just really briefly wanted to also talk about player etiquette there. It's super different from how it is in the US or maybe in any other TCG location. Basically what you do is they seat you by seat numbers rather than names or anything. So you have a score sheet, and you write out how many points you received, and you write out if you won or lost, and so they just process what they see on your score sheet at the end of the round. They basically, they'll like seat you, and then you see your opponent, you say onegaishimasu, and then you set up and everything, and then you guys figure out who goes first and second and all that jazz. And then before they start the time, you do not look at your opening hand. If you look at your opening hand, then your opponent has a choice to shuffle your hand back into your deck, and then you draw a new hand. So I mean, yeah, you do that, and then the round finally starts. You say onegaishimasu once more, you play, you look at your hand, you play, then at the very end of it, rather than scooping, as we call it, you say something like makimasu or makimashita, which means like I lost or I lose. You can put your hand on top of your deck multiple times, and it'll indicate that you're surrendering, and then you say arigatou gozaimashita at the end of the match, rather than round by round. So yeah, that's pretty much the difference in like player etiquette, just in case anyone wants to go to the OCG or go to Japan and play. At least that's how it was for Japan. I don't know about, I mean, obviously other countries have different languages. So anyway, I'll get into the deck, and now we can, I'll just explain my card choices and stuff. So I played against Sentouki. So I played, they're pretty much just Junishishi or Zodiac Beasts, but for the Link archetype rather than XYZ. So this is like their only main deck monster, Sentouki Ray, and she pretty much does everything and a half that an engine card could do. She basically, her effect is you can tribute her as a quick effect to summon a Sentouki Link monster or extra deck monster to your extra monster zone. Can't be summoned to any zone that an extra deck monster points to. That's not the extra monster zone. It has to be the extra monster zone. That's very important. And then when Sentouki Link monster is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon her from the graveyard. So, and it's a once per turn, like both of them, hard once per turns. So basically, when you summon her, if your opponent has cherries, you can tribute it and summon whichever Sentouki they reveal. So it's really good against that card. Against Max C, you summon it, which they have. You summon it, they activate Max C, and then you can just chain her effect to tribute. And if they don't play Max C on the normal summon, then you don't have to use her effect. You can just send her to the graveyard and summon a Sentouki monster from your extra deck. So it plays around that really well too. On top of that, if they have Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, you can use not even her effect. You can summon a Link monster. One of their Link monsters activate its effect. They Ghost Ogre it. You let the effect resolve, and then Ray comes back because it was destroyed. And then you can use her to make the other Link monster. There are only 2 Link monsters out right now. I know Hayate is coming out, but there's only Kagari and Shizuku, so those are the only 2 I'm referencing. So basically, she plays around every hand trap ever, and she basically makes her Link monsters insane, as if they weren't good enough already. So she's like awesome. She's also a warrior, so you can search her out with Rhoda. And then I played 3 copies of the best hand trap ever, which is at 3 in their format, Max C. This is, I mean, even though it's kind of bad against Ray, it's still great against everything. And even in the mirror, they sometimes start out their play with Hornet, which is basically like their token maker. And so you could just chain Max C to that, so at least you get some value. It just makes going second a lot easier. The TCG definitely did it wrong. You either need 3 of this or I guess none of this, but if you don't have any of this, going second against like any combo deck can be like extraordinarily difficult. So, and at 3, it's also good because the likelihood of you having it next to your opponent is high. So your opponent Max sees you, like it's okay, you can give them a few cards, and then when they try and go in on you, you Max see them back. So it makes games like super interactive and skillful that way. Then I played 2 Ash Blossom and Winter Cherries. It's only at 2 in the OCG, but it's probably the second best hand trap. Third best being Cyframe Omega, or excuse me, Gamma. But this card is also really good. You can hit their spell card, the Sentouki spell card with it. Also, against every other matchup, even like the Firewall decks, it's just like really good to like 1-for-1 trade with one of their like crucial combo pieces like Foolish Burial or Dragon Shrine or something like that. Then I played 1 Ghost Ogre. As I said before, there's like that really bad interaction with Ray, so this card actually isn't very good, but you can summon it off of Crystron Needle Fiber and it gives you more interrupts with that card. Whereas like none of the other hand traps can be used on the field except for this one. So that's the only reason I played that. And then 1 Jet Synchron. With Summon Sorceress, there is an OTK, and there is like the only way you can make it is via Needle Fiber plus Jet Synchron. You can't play Glow Bulb or anything like that. So yes, that's why he's in there. So it gives basically, I didn't play like Diablos or anything, so this card is kind of what gives the deck a sense of like inevitability. Like basically like it allows your deck to have some kind of pressure in the same way Zodiac or Judashishi had Gaga Samurai. So for spell cards, I played 3 of the Brandish or Sentouki startup. Basically it's a Rhoda or like a searcher. I shouldn't say Rhoda. It basically searches any card of the archetype, including spells, obviously spells. And if you have 3 or more spells in the grave, you can draw a card after you search. So it's pretty much pot of greed every time. Once you get 3, and this is like kind of what the deck is centered around, but you don't get to open it like every time. It's also just not once per turn, so if you open 2 and they have Ash, it's just game. But you don't get to open like this as much as you'd like. It's only a 3 of. It's really unconventional, or it's not unconventional. That's like a terrible word to use there. Sorry, I'm exhausted. It's like it's not super likely. It's like under 50% for sure. So in that, I tried to play as many starter cards as possible outside of startup in order to make the deck as consistent and still playable without seeing that card. So I played 3 of the Hornet. A lot of the decks in the OCG play 2, but 3 was really good. It just gets additional monsters on the board, and if you're going second and you need it out of field, you can chain them to each other if you open multiple. And then you still have your normal summon on top of that. So it's really good in that regard. It's just a good starter card. Then I played 3 Upstart Goblin, and people in the OCG laughed at me for playing this. Well, joke's on them. This is an extra spell, and it makes your deck thinner, so it instantly becomes more consistent. So it works well with the engine and adds consistency. So there's like literally no reason not to play that. In fact, it's just bad not to play it, for sure. So then the next spell that wasn't Sentouki I played was Foolish Burial of Goods, along with 1 Metal Foes Fusion to send off of it. Again, you don't always open startup, but if you open like Ray and or like any like playable monster that makes a Sentouki extract monster plus Foolish Burial of Goods, you can send startup and then summon Kagari, who will add it back. So that's really good. On top of that, if you send Metalfoes Fusion, it's 2 spells. So, because sometimes it's kind of difficult to get 3 spells in the grave, like randomly. So, but if you have like Upstart plus this, and then you can send that, and then all your spell cards become insane. Then you play 3 Called by the Grave. This card is so good against literally everything in that format. I mean, obviously we know it gets hand traps, but it's also just insane in the mirror match where Ray is so powerful, so you can like hit Ray with it. The Troymare ABC deck that I lost to is actually extremely good, even though Buster's at 1. It was so good at abusing B, like Buster Drake, to search out more monsters to summon off of Firewall, Dragon, special summon effects. So if you basically hit that off this, they can't add monsters, and thusly will probably lose the duel. I ended up losing that game, not because, I mean, the deck is obviously really good, but I just didn't set this for whatever reason, and I should have. So if I had set this on my first turn, then I would have won that duel. And ultimately, that would have been the match, and then there you go. But also, it's just like a really good card in general. It's also just another spell. It's not once per turn, so if you're going second and your opponent hand traps you, it could add a 3rd spell, which makes, again, all your spells ridiculous. So then I played 2 copies of Sentouki Widowmaker. This is like your negator, and you generally end your turn with Sentouki Shizuku, which adds a startup, plus 1 or 2 of these, ideally 2. I mean, generally 2. So that's generally your turn 1. You basically add as many disruptions as possible, set them, and then on the following turn, produce pressure by like summoning a tuner and then going into like the OTK. So then I played 2 copies of Twin Twisters. Again, it's like a discard. Cosmic is also good, but because the Brandish or the Sentouki turns end off with like Guy plus 2 sets, you can just Twin Twisters away the 2 sets, then you can play, again, adds another spell because you discard, so you could potentially have 2 spells in the grave, and if you play like an Upstart or anything, then all your spells become ridiculous. Then I played for the 1-ofs, a multi-role. This card is basically Spellbook of Judgment, but also its other interaction is if you have like Metalfoes Fusion or really any card that you can just send, including monsters in the main monster zone, because you can't activate any of these cards if you have cards in the, or you have monsters in the main monster zones. You can clear that to activate your other spells, and if you do, if you like send a card, then your spells can't be responded to, or like the activations can't be negated or anything. So they definitely just can't Ash you or anything like that, and that's kind of cool. Even though Ash is only at 2, but its second more relevant effect is, as per Brandish spells you activate this turn, you can set Brandish spells from your graveyard to your backfield with different names. So at the end of your turn, you're going to be setting like startups and stuff like that, and then off Shizuku, you can like add startups since it's not in your graveyard anymore. I'll explain her effect later. But it's basically Spellbook of Judgment. You end your turn going from like 5 cards total, or like 6 cards total, to like 8 or 9 cards total with this card. So makes your next turns much better. Also, this can that effect is either player's turn. So if you activate Widow Anchor, you can just reset the Widow Anchor. So that's like really good. Also, they get banished when they leave the field. That's kind of relevant, I guess. But just to explain the effect more, then I played one of the Jamming and one of the Afterburner. This card's really good. This card's not so good. This card's like Destroy Monster. If you have 3 or more spells, you non-target destroy like a spell or trap, and this one's the opposite. So this card sucks, kinda. This card's like, again, really good because a lot of these spells they flip, or like the traps they flip, excuse me, are like continuous. That's what makes them so good. And then on top of that, like, this is only good. These 2 cards are only good going second, and you need like startup to make them like really good. So that's why I didn't play like multiples of any of them. But this card's good because generally they're summoning a monster, so even if they don't have the spell or trap, at least you can like get value by like killing like a big monster. It's how you generally beat like the bigger monsters, because like your engine, the monsters just like a Zodiac are kind of small. So this one was like okay, but if you don't play this, you don't have much of a threat against the Zephyr decks and the decks that end off on like spell and trap, like negation. So you need something like this for those decks to make them like flip their cards early, at least. Then I played a Shark Cannon. This is like the only spell you can activate after you add off Shizuku, so that's really good, but it also has a good interaction with Ray. Like if you like hit their Ray with it, that's really good. And also just DD Crow, so, and it's just a 1-of, so you can just search it when you need it. This card sucks unless you play chicken games, so I wouldn't play it again. I don't even like really know what it does. I mean, I do know what it does, but it's just not good. It's basically just like a Hail Mary. You can like excavate the top 3, and if you hit like a Sentouki card, you like send whatever this targeted, because you have to target a card you control, to the grave, and then you add that card, otherwise you just don't do anything. And then when it's sent it from the field spell zone to the graveyard, you summon a Ray. But I mean, like that, it's not very good. It doesn't do enough. It's just really, if you don't have startup, if you don't have like anything, you just play this, but I wouldn't play this again. I never wanted to like, my hands weren't bad enough to where like I needed this, so this seems like it just makes hands worse. And then a Rhoda. Then I played for traps, 2 strike and 2 transients. This card is like really good, and it's only at 2, so I only played 2. I wanted some stuff that weren't like Sentouki disruptions, and that weren't hand traps, super high impact, especially going first, so this was like really good. And this card's really good. It's basically just effect veiler, and if you set it, and if they randomly like mess up with like what they activate in their zones, like let's say they activate Duster in the middle, I can like chain transients, target my guy, and then the Duster gets negated. But also, it's just like, other than that, it's like effect veiler going second, but there are some FTK decks that make Azathoth first and then kill you, so that's like the one interaction where I was like, I'd rather have transients every time, so I just play transients instead. Yeah, so there's that. Any changes I would make? Well, I would definitely try and play Chicken Game somewhere. We don't have that in the TCG either, but that card's like insane, so it just makes your deck much more consistent. You need to see startup as much as possible. Oh, this is the side. So extra deck, 3 Kagari. All of them can only be summoned like once per turn, like special summoned. And basically her effect is like she gets pumped up by 100 for each spell. And when she's summoned, she adds a Sentouki spell from your graveyard to your hand. So she's the one you like abuse. Like you do like all your like crazy, like not really combos, but like you like draw infinite off of like adding startup back, playing it, drawing another card, like after you played it once already. Then like you make Shizuku after you make Kagari to like kill something, because then this pretty much in the end phase adds a different name, Sentouki spell from your deck to your hand. And then she decreases all their monsters by 100. So like clearing this after that like is a little weird, especially if you have like other cards to play. So yeah, so there's that. There's like I played as many as I could. So and you can summon them off Ray, obviously. Then one Link Karibo, the Hornet Bit tokens are level 1. So randomly, if you don't have any like interrupts and your hand sucks, but you have like Hornet plus Ray, then you can like make this plus Kagari or Shizuku and then pass at startup. And hopefully you don't die. Needle Fiber is for like the OTK combo, but also summons Ogre, so it gives you more disruption if you have too many tuners. Didn't come up as much because I didn't mean cherries, and I should have. Electromite for the cherries. The Troymare, Phoenix, and Unicorn were my 2 generics. They were just really good overall. This one's like, when it's summoned, discard a card, pop a back row, and this one's like, summon, discard a card, shuffle any of their cards back into the deck, or I guess your cards too. They have like co-link effects, other than like draw 1 card if it's co-link when that effect is activated, but they, like because of how the Sentouki link or like their links, like in which they point to, like the zones, they suck. I mean, you still make these turn 1 anyway, even though they give your opponent a zone, but that effect never like comes up where it's like co-link monsters can't be destroyed or something random like that. I don't know, you have to go like read them, but that never like comes up in this deck. Summon Sorceress for that Jet Synchron combo where you make Chanbara. So you like summon Chanbara, Shizuku, and like summon Sorceress, and that's 85. And I do play Upstart, but you generally attack in before that. There's like almost like no reason or rhyme to just like make this on turn 2. You don't have enough removal or disruption, even though you play like a bunch of Widow Anchors, in which Widow Anchor actually helps. Like, I guess you could make this combo turn 2 because you could just like, even if you Upstart, you like Widow Anchor their cards, or yeah, Widow Anchor their cards, make this, do that whole combo, then attack them for like a bajillion. So that like kills them. I played Borlo. This card is terrible. I would not like play that again. I'd play Firewall instead because so many of like the other decks that beat this deck, like, or that compete with this deck, play Firewall, and they just like spam the hell out of it with like Troymare cards. So I'd get rid of that, like, you know, with cherries or something. Then Wonder Magician to give Crystron Needle Fiber more use. This is like the best, I think, Synchro tuner that I could play because Formula doesn't add any disruption, unlike with the Zephyr decks or anything. So that was good. For the side, I played 3 cherries for the Sentouki cards and the Electromite stuff, and I should have done for Firewall too, but I didn't. Duster, they have that. This card's insane. But only good going second, so I can't control the dice roll. 3 Curse Seal. This is primarily for the mirror going first, because if you hit their Sentouki startup, they can't play it again and lose. So that's really cool. Also just like hits like Duster and Twin, so if they like twin you, then you like play this, and then in the end phase, you always add back a spell, so you'll always have a spell to discard for this, so that makes that card even better. 3 Evenly, Going second in the mirror, their turn 1, again, ends with like a bunch of cards on their field, so you just evenly them, and then you start playing. On top of that, this card's really good against like the Altergeist decks. I don't think it's very good against Zephyra, because they have too many like negates, so you're just wasting your battle phase. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely good against like the Altergeist deck too, and like the Trickstar deck in their format, because their Trickstar deck I think is a little more aggressive. 2 copies of Dimensional Barrier. Pendulum is still super popular, and I was playing 3, but I decided to cut the 3rd one for Vanity's Emptiness, which was just a better Dimensional Barrier, really. And these cards obviously were really good. This was for like the Invoke deck too, but this was pretty much for everything going first. Then also going first, I decided Double Judgment. I took out the Transients. If I could control me going first every time, I would just play Judgment, but I couldn't control that. So yeah, so that's the deck, and thank you for watching.